Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome back to the Movieverse podcast show, where we review films in a elongated, spoiler-tastic podcast format. So there's your spoiler warning right there at the beginning. We usually wait till halfway through, so spoiler alert. But yes, my name is the Habitual Pixel. This is my co-host Big Nasty Productions, and it is a lovely day because we are reviewing Mad Max Furry Road, my most anticipated film of this year. Probably one of the best films of this year. We'll see. But yes, it's a movie everyone's talking about, and it lives up to the hype. It's one of the first films I've seen in a long time that lives up to the goddamn hype. So we're going to tear it apart. This might be a longer episode. Spoiler warning again. Where would you like to begin on Mad Max Fury Road? I guess we'll start with the cast, perhaps, talking about that.
Yeah, sure. That's probably the best idea, because otherwise we'll get lost in just the
story. Yeah.
Beautiful, disastrous glory that is George Miller's masterpiece. The culmination of the Mad Max franchise. I understand people are saying that The Road Warrior has a better story, and while that may be true in certain aspects, this is like what they really seem to have wanted to do the entire time. I'm so glad that he actually got the chance to do it with, the proper technology that they have now and the budget. Even though, like, with a lot of practical effects, like, that's the thing. Practical effects are still fucking awesome.
Yes, and this is the evolution of practical effects, and I love that J.J. Abrams is using them in the Star Wars too. This is how it should be used. You combine it the right way with CGI and like future shit. You don't use it when you don't have to. If you can afford to build it, you do, and that's what he did here. We are probably going to lose our shit over this movie in the upcoming hour, so be forewarned. But yeah, we love it. But cast, yes, cast. All right, we have Tom Hardy in the titular role of Max Rackentance. I don't know, Mad Max. You all know him. He was replacing Mel Gibson in this role because Mel Gibson.
That would just got awful if Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson's a bit old, and he might be a liability these days with all the things he says. But he replaces the character, and I guess it's worth noting that this isn't really a sequel, spin-off, reboot, any of those things. It's not really any of them. It's a Mad Max story, and it stands on its own as a Mad Max story. So, yes, Tom Hardy is the lead role. You may know him as Bane and Bronson and several other awesome roles. He is backed up by Charlize Theron. You may know her from many things, including Monster and what was that? North Country and a few other things. She's fucking awesome. She plays a role called Furiosa, and she is a general in this war cult community in this apocalyptic scenario, which we'll get into later. We have Hugh I can't pronounce this guy's last name. Hugh Keays-Byrne, something like that, playing Immortan Joe. I thought it was Immortal Joe when I saw it, but
whereas it's referred to as throughout the entire movie by most of the war boys and such, Daddy,
and he is the leader of the War Boys, and this is a cult-like camp in this apocalyptic wasteland, and he uses not to dive too much in the story right away, but he uses resources like milk, water, and women to control the population, and he's got an army at his disposal that he's like brainwashed into thinking he's some sort of god, and this Viking mythology around it. It's insane. This movie, the world this movie presents is insane, and it sells it, which is cool.
Yeah, the war boys' main purpose is to essentially die a warrior's death so that they may be received in Valhalla.
Yes, like we've long gone are the days of the military. This is what we're dealing with now. Like tribes almost, factions. If those of you are familiar,
those leads for some sick scenes, though.
Oh hell yes, does it ever? And it just goes to illustrate how crazy this world is. And we have Nicholas Hoult, who you may remember from his recent role as Beast from Days of Future Past, and the first one, First Class, that's it. And he plays a member of the War Boys named Nux, and we'll get in, and he actually is surprisingly likable in this movie. And he's in it way more than you may think. He's the guy in the trailer that says, "What a lovely day." Yes. And the cast is backed up by some beautiful ladies that play the wives. They're kind of secondary characters. You got Lenny Kravitz's daughter Zoe in there. Yes, and Rosie can't pronounce her can't remember her last name.
Transformers?
Huntington-Whiteley, yes, and she played otherwise known as the Total Babe from Transformers 3.
I don't remember what her name was in that.
I don't know if it matters. Megan Fox's better replacement, we'll call her that, from Transformers 3, and a few other beautiful ladies played the wives, who are, the slave mothers, if you will, of Immortan Joe. He's using them. They're all beautiful and, contrast well against the backdrop of disgusting people in this wasteland. So they're kind of like sirens, if you will, and they're unsullied, if you will, and he's using them to get an unmutated baby, I guess, that's his main goal. And yeah, that's about it. We have a few other cameos here and there by the other factions, like the Many Mothers, I believe they were called, at the end, and a few other of the War Boys, one of which is a wrestler, Nathan Jones, plays a character named Rictus Erectus.
Yeah, I think it's different. I think there's the War Boys, and then I think there's just his weird mutant kids.
Okay, yeah.
I might have got that wrong before. I think it's just his kids. I call him Daddy.
Yeah, I think that big one is actually one of his sons, maybe.
Yeah, because he says to him, he's like, Rictus, you had a baby brother. And he was perfect in every way.
And he was perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother.
And he was perfect. I love how this movie shows you things instead of just like, they could have had voiceover explaining all this crap like I'm trying to do now, but no, they show you it all through visuals, and it doesn't hold your hand, which I really enjoyed. But that's mainly the cast that wraps up this film. And don't get me wrong, this is an action film through and through. This is a massive car chase film set in like a spaghetti western apocalyptic scenario. It's so cool.
That's a good way to put it.
It's so fucking cool. And it doesn't make sense that it works, but it does work, and George Miller is a mad genius. And if you don't know George Miller's former body of work, he of course did Mad Max, The Road Warrior, and Beyond the Thunderdome. And his last... It always amazes me to think his last couple films were Happy Feet 1 and 2,
Babe Pig in the City,
and Babe Pig in the City, and now he's returned to his gritty action roots. The man's 70, by the way, which is incredible, and he has made probably the most badass practical action movie ever. It's hard to compare it to.
He probably watched The Expendables and wanted to break a TV or something.
Yeah, it's like this is a popcorn movie. It's very spectacle heavy. It's not a lot of the stories left for you to fill in, and kind of focuses on the set pieces, which are many and often. But it works. It works on every fucking level, and it's badass.
Oh, the music is composed beautifully. It works amazingly well with the action sequences.
Music is composed by Junkie XL. Some of you may have known him as a, electronic artist of some sort. I've heard of him. I don't know his work personally, but the music in this movie was awesome.
Oh, he did a great job in this. Especially the opening title sequence before the actual title, when Max gets pulled back into the cabin with the thing over his face, the door slams, just like Mad Max.
Yeah.
Super 80s with the opening title, the way it hit the screen. But I loved it. It was,
it fit. Yeah, there's so much, there's so much of the
that
old
whole
style
sequence is just gorgeous before the whole film really even takes off. Right from the opening monologue, when he then steps on the crazy little two-headed lizard, eats it, and just bam, chase scene right off the hop.
Yeah, like that's you may see the trailers and be like, oh, this action looks crazy. There's no way this keeps up the whole time. Honestly, there's like maybe five minutes or less of like a little bit of a flashback. Some explains the nuclear fallout, the water wars, gasoline wars, and then bam, he's instantly being chased by a group of psychopaths like 5 minutes into this thing, and it barely takes a breath from there to the end. There's a few down points, but the majority of this is a car chase. Fury Road is the star of this film.
Okay, yeah.
And it's glorious. A lot of people may think Max is going to be a bit more of an important character, but he kind of co-stars, if you will, with Charlize Theron. She's a more important part of the story than the trailers might initially give.
Yeah, Furiosa takes kind of the lead in this story. Mad Max is kind of just helping her.
You could argue that she is the main character of this, and it's not really important. They're both central characters, but she stands on her own. And I don't want to get too into this, but those addressing this movie as feminist, like, you're just like, nope, you need to stay home and read a book. It doesn't matter if it's feminist, meninist, whatever the fuck. It's just a strong female character. Just leave it alone. It's okay. You bitch at this guy for making strong female characters, and then you bitch at Josh Whedon for making Black Widow not strong enough and needing a romantic partner in the new Avengers. Like, just let movies be movies, you jerks. Fuck.
How do you really feel about feminists?
I don't mind. I don't mind anybody. Let's just say that. I just want everyone to shut up about my damn movies. That's all.
There you go.
Yeah, and this Charlize Theron, badass character.
Furiosa was a great casting choice. Charlize Theron does a beautiful job throughout the whole movie too. I mean, there isn't a single part of the film where she really lets down in any aspect. I honestly thought her mannerisms and even the kind of tone she sets just with her sort of facial features and emotion, just kind of like she did in Monster, which is, I believe it was a Monster that won her an Oscar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but similar to that. I feel like she's honestly one of the best actresses as far as emoting when, like, basically just carrying a character through, where it's almost like she's more of a she has that sort of feel of the method actor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it comes through very well, especially in that scene where Max for some reason doesn't say his name, but she says, when I say fool, you better drive the truck or whatever, and then she's doing the walking through part. I thought that was one of the best scenes of just her, where the camera's mostly on her for the entire time. I think that was really strong, the way that she held that role there.
Yeah, she's awesome in this, and she definitely stands on her own. And
the fight scene with her and Max was awesome.
The fight scene with her and Max, and involving a third character, Nux, who was who was passed out for half of it, and there's a chain that's on. It's crazy. Don't get me wrong. This all sounds crazy, but it's awesome. And Charlize Theron's character Furiosa is a badass, and she's missing an arm. She's bald. She fits in with this universe, and she definitely is acting her ass off here. Even though this movie is insanity, all the main actors take it completely serious, and it sells the shit out of this universe.
Right.
Tom Hardy's Max doesn't, like, he's definitely less charismatic than Mel Gibson's Max in the older movies. He's a little more stoic. I'd say he's a lot more stoic, but yeah, he still embodies manliness, and he still embodies the road warrior. He doesn't need to explain his background for you to be like, I know who Max is. I know what he's all about.
To be fair though, he's like a lot more insane for the beginning parts there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they kind of teeter off with his insanity, but yes, he is clearly scarred horribly by the things in his past, the other movies, and God knows what else he's had to do to survive on this. The survival is the focus of this movie on all fronts. That even the bad guy Morton Joe, he wants to preserve his bloodline. The wives, they just want a better life. Charlize Theron, she wants redemption, and she knows what it takes to survive. Max just wants to survive and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Everyone has basic motivations in this crazy world, and it works.
I feel like we also need to touch on the only reason that Max doesn't just leave them is that when he steals the war rig, Charlize Theron is the only one that knows how to keep it running or something.
Yeah, just put a kill switch or something on it, so the rig doesn't go anywhere without her, which is really fucking smart in this world. Max is kind of he is the road warrior. He's the lone wanderer, Fallout reference. And he maintains that. He still has humanity, and he comes around when he ends up helping the wives and Furiosa later on. But the first half of the movie, he's a prisoner for most of it. Not only a prisoner, he's a fucking hood ornament. How about that? You ever seen that before? Where a main character is a hood ornament for half an hour, and it's still awesome. But
if you're wondering why he's on the front of the car in some of the previews there, it's because of the fact that he's actually Nux's blood bag. Because Nux is sick, and for some reason feeding him his blood helps him out.
Well, it took a reading up a little bit to realize this, but the tattoos they were putting on him, one of them said universal donor, so his blood is good for anybody, I guess, which would make him a rare commodity. So I don't know how this band of apocalyptic dudes got a blood test, but hey, that's fine.
Good for them.
Yeah, so he's literally used as a human blood bag for half of this movie, so Nux, one of the war boys, can, fulfill his glory to his overlord. And it's all as crazy as it sounds, but it works. So that's the bit of the story and the performances that we liked a lot. I think we'll touch on the villain and the villains in a moment, but the real star of this movie, in my humble opinion, is the vehicles. What did you think of these cars and these practical effects? Because this is what Fury Road is about, is the cars.
Oh, this is amazing. Like, aside from the war rig, which is just spectacular. Aside from the war rig, because the one that has the big buzz.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
That one is freaking awesome. But the little
there's a bunch of
cars, those little spiky cars, those were insane. I like the speed that they show of the different cars, especially when like Nux's is kind of almost like an old Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Like just all souped up to the max.
Yeah,
mind the pun, but
these cars, these cars are so goddamn cool, and they're all real. They're all built practical. You know they are, because they're filmed in every conceivable way, and they're destroyed many times. I
love when Max sees his car.
Yeah. That's my car. Yeah, we what is it? Oh, I can't remember what that car is called in the Mad Max series. There is a name for it, but I don't remember. Mad Max's car is back. Unfortunately, we see it get destroyed, which was kind of I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's not very much of it.
There's like old school VW Beetles with spikes all over them, because they know that, like, jumping on cars is how this highway business is done. So put spikes all over the cars, problem solved. There's dirt bikes, all manner of dirt bikes. The Bullet Farmer has like a Cadillac tank thing that was fucking crazy. Like, the vehicles are so awesome. I can't overstate it enough. Not to mention the fucking musical rig that just was sole purpose was to
that was the only one where I was just kind of like, what the.
I thought the same thing, but I immediately just let it go. I'm like, okay, fine. There's this rig with like war drums on it, and this dude with a guitar that shoots fire. I mean, there's another point. You're calling this a feminist movie? Like, did you hear what I just said? There's a rig with men playing war drums and a guy rocking out with heavy metal guitars shooting fire.
He's just like, it's pretty sweet.
Oh, it's awesome. And that was, one part where I was like, oh my god, this is fucking a cartoon. But that's okay. Like, it was a pretty badass cartoon. I can't tell you how much I love these practical effects. I'm really surprised, like, all the stuntmen didn't die, because the action here is some of the best I've ever seen, and it's clear. I want to talk about that for a second.
We're talking about some of the war boys, like pipe or bomb sticks and all that sort of stuff, or some of the pole boys or whatever they were called.
Yeah, the pole boys, the guys that are like 30 feet up on fucking counterweighted poles that are designed to grab people. And
pole climbers or whatever the hell they're called. I don't remember what those guys were called, but
I don't know, pole man or something like that.
I hope they weren't called pole boys, because that'd be terrible. It's just terrible.
I'd believe it in this insanity-filled world, I guess. But man, I love the practical action in this movie. It's so clear too. That's what I was gonna say. Joss Whedon does this with his action as well, and a few other good directors out there. But in this movie, it would have been so easy to just throw shaky cam on it to make everything work. But everything is filmed wide, and you see stuntman and CGI people. I don't know which is which. Like, they blend it really well. Just hit the ground 60 miles an hour. It doesn't matter. Cars flip and explode, and you see everything, and sometimes they slow it down so you can see everything, and other times it's sped up a little bit to I guess to illustrate just what is going on, and you can tell where everybody is. And this is how action should be filmed. I'm so sick of over-edited shaky cam action, and thank God for George Miller.
Yeah, I'm glad that he actually that he came back and decided to do this again.
Mm-hmm. I bet he saw all the remakes.
By far the most impressive piece of work in his career.
Oh yes, by sheer significance of like pulling it off.
It's insane.
Yeah, and to think of all this as practical is nuts. Like these, I can't wait to see behind the scenes for this movie. These band of lunatics in their custom old school cars racing around the desert for, I think they shot for like over 150 days, which I believe it. To make all this work, it would have taken so many setups, and it's crazy to think about. And this is the best thing he's ever made, and it's crazy to think he's 70 and he just topped himself. I think he saw like remakes of other older classics like Predator and Aliens and stuff, and he was like, "Nah, not happening to me. If there's gonna be another Mad Max, I'm gonna make it. Yeah. I'm doing it my damn self." It's awesome. It's awesome.
And I'm super thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the universe he creates, if you want to talk about that here, is just, it's so good. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of it is shown, not told, which is really clever, I think. It doesn't hold your hand and assume, a lot of movies would over-explain things with narration and all that crap. It doesn't do it here. It's good. It's refreshing to see. I don't know. Fans of Fallout and Borderlands and stuff like that will find a lot to love in this universe.
Especially Fallout. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things in Fallout that are clearly based off the original Mad Max films. And this one just follows the same sort of layout and look as well. I mean, Tom Hardy as Max even has the same jacket.
Yep. That jacket was in Fallout 2, I think, and it belonged to a character named Max, and when you put it on, you get this dog starts following you around, just like the character Max in Road Warrior. So yeah, Mad Max has inspired a lot of apocalyptic stuff, including the Fallout franchise, and this kind of shit makes me, oh my god, they could do a Fallout movie and make it look legit. My god.
George Miller would have to be the one that directs it, but
yes, and they would have to, heavily rely on his vision to make it work. But every piece of this world is handcrafted out of some old, rusted, repurposed shit, and it's so cool to see. Similar to the Fallout franchise, where people are using yield signs as shields, and old engine blocks as counterweights to things, and all sorts of just scrap metal welded to shit for extra armor.
It almost looks like that's what they're using on the top of the poles, with those guys that are on the poles bouncing around.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they're like sort of like engine blocks or something that they're using to weight the end of it so they can keep bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And it was like, it's some, orchestrated Cirque du Soleil shit, like the some of these crazy stunts, just, with more dirt and gasoline in the mix. And it's glorious. I can't say enough good about this film. In fact, there's not a lot that's bad. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no. The only thing that I would say, as far as acting wise, was a couple of the wives, and
they were secondary. Some of them felt secondary.
The one was just super weird. I didn't understand whether her dialogue was supposed to just be sort of self-aware humor or if it was just bad acting. I really couldn't tell.
I'm not sure.
But aside from that, you're right. There really wasn't much to dislike about it. And if you are a fan of the original Mad Max films or the franchise in general, or even just post-apocalyptic film,
yeah, definitely,
this is clearly one of the best pieces in the history of that sort of subgenre, I guess, of action films.
Mm-hmm. I'd call it the best, man.
I would say it's because of, I'd say there's some kind of writing flaws. Like, Max doesn't really even necessarily need to be in it.
I was going to mention that. I mean, I'm glad he is. He added a lot of things to the story, but this could have been this movie could have been called Furiosa,
The Indiana Jones-dom.
Yeah, kind of. And it's not, and unlike Indiana Jones, it's okay. Like, I wasn't, all that pissed about it.
I just find it strange that they didn't sort of, at least like try and have some sort of tie-in at the end there, where it makes either he had his own sort of purpose for this mission, if it was, maybe it was the fact that he saved them, that's what his actual mission was, so now he was okay to go off and wander on his own again.
Yeah, I think he was looking for Yeah, I think he was looking for redemption, and they don't really touch on that just because he's such a stoic character. He maybe has 20 to 30 lines of dialogue this whole film, and I'm not exaggerating. So
he does say that when he comes back and Charlize Theron and him slap hands. So I mean, I guess that's what that whole little end part is there. Mm-hmm. Which in that case, maybe it should have just been explained a little bit more. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't question George Miller. I just enjoy his work.
That's
just the only thing I would ever change about anything of it.
I agree. I would have enjoyed more story, whether it been just straight up told to me or shown maybe an extra 20 minutes of movie or something. I would have liked that just because this universe is so goddamn cool. I want to get every every piece I can. I guess there's a comic either out or coming out about or how Immortan Joe came to power, which should be interesting. And they're already, talking about a sequel. Who knows how? I mean, this movie was in development for 10 years, went through development hell, if you will. So who knows about a sequel? But this, it's doing well. It's going to make its money back. It has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, take it for a grain of salt. But that's still like the highest. That's 2 away from perfect, right?
Which means only 2% of people that saw it and actually, commented or voted on there or whatever, however it works.
Yep. Speaking of which, I believe they sat behind us when we saw this opening day. Anyone thinking this is too cheesy and isn't going to be...
that was awesome.
Yeah, isn't going to be dark and gritty enough for you. When we saw this opening night... behind us, a couple rows, was a group of older ladies, maybe 70s, something like that. Yeah, probably older, you're right, maybe high 70s, 80s. Yeah. And they were at the movie theater with us, seeing Mad Max. Maybe they liked the old ones, I don't know. But within 15 minutes of the movie, they left. And as they walked by...
They were in their 50s.
Then they walked by our aisle, and they're like, sorry, we just don't like it. We're going to go. I
believe that was right after the milking scene. Yes, all the larger ladies are just being pumped.
Yes, the scene where they're milking large women for their breast milk because there isn't any cows in the world, right? So, you need that.
Just takes a nice big swig and is like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, and that pretty much was that was it for those old ladies. So if you're a fan of movies that your grandma wouldn't like, Fury Road.
If you're turned off by watching people drink breast milk,
yes,
don't see Fury Road apparently.
Yep, I mean there's some real adult films or themes, if you will, in this. There's not really all that much swearing or gore per se. There's a little bit. You definitely see guys hit the ground hard, and yeah, they're dead. But there's not much swearing and gore, but there is, the theme of slave wives and incest and human, using humans either as slaves or for their breast milk and breeding, etc., etc. There's cults. There's branding, brainwashing. What else do we got in there? Oh, lots of fun apocalyptic themes.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's
it pretty much crosses off the entire grocery list for a post-apocalyptic movie.
Yeah, man. Like it's it's got different factions, which I love seeing. 3 factions that work together for resources, and it's alluded to that they're run by Immortan Joe's 2 brothers. I'm not sure if that was confirmed, but there's a town that produces bullets, and there's a town that produces gas. Gas Town and the Bullet Farm.
Gas Town was the one that had the real sick Cadillac tank thingy.
Yeah. And
the Bullet Farm had that little one where the light gets blown up in his face.
Mm-hmm. And he has the 2.
Hold the flare up to my face.
I can't say it, I'm blind. Yeah, so there's, just like Fallout, there's these cool factions that all work together in interesting ways. There's buzzards, which are basically Tusken Raiders. Or sand.
Those guys were awesome. Those were the spiky car guys.
Yeah, the spiky car guys that they run into like right away.
They almost remind me of those those red shell guys from the original Mario Brother games that would be all spiky. Remember those guys?
Oh yeah, the Koopa Troopers or whatever.
Yeah, and they would just have little spikes on their shells.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were. That's what they were kind of reminding me of in those cars.
Yeah, that was cool. And then there's like the mountain guys who all have dirt bikes and explosives and do like all kinds of ramps set up in this canyon thing. And then there's the Many Mothers, which is a faction of surviving women in this apocalyptic world.
Who shoot people's head off?
Yeah, who are just as hardcore as any guy that you see in the movie, if not more so. Yeah, the factions are cool. And
factions are cool.
Everything that I love about this genre, and then some that I didn't know I loved yet, are in this movie. And I'd love to see, I mean, I guess there's a video game coming out that I couldn't have given a shit about before seeing this movie. I'm like, if it's anything like that, you know, I might be interested. I love this world, and I want to see more, because apocalyptic shit is one of my favorite.
Like, or it's going to be real shitty like one of the superhero movie video games where you're basically just fighting levels of robots and fucking mutants the entire time.
Yep, which is why I wasn't excited, but I'm like, if it's good, there's a small chance it could be good. I want more of this world, right? So the comic, I think, could be interesting.
Is George Miller directing the
I don't know.
Video game?
I'm not sure. I doubt it, though. I'd have to doubt it.
Maybe that's Bethesda's announcement.
Maybe.
They're the ones that are actually making the Mad Max game.
That would be cool. Who better than the Fallout people, right?
That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. And who better to make a Fallout film
exactly
than this guy? Which, you know, put that into production right away. Have it launched with Fallout 4. I don't care. I'd wait for him to make that. It'd be so cool.
I don't even care what the story is.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing here is that people may complain that it's story light and it's a series of car chases, or depending on how you look at it, one extremely long car chase.
Yeah, pretty much. It's more so one extremely long car chase than a series.
Yeah.
Because realistically, all it is them chasing them this way, but then also chasing them this way.
Yeah, it is really like a there and back again story, yep. But with giant crazy vehicles and shit.
It's the length of story of Dead Island.
Yes. So, you know what? It is story light when you think about it like that. It's all about survival, but and for me anyways, and I think most viewers, it's not going to matter.
It really didn't, especially when you consider the factors of like Max's insanity for one. Mm-hmm. Not to mention Furiosa's position at the beginning as well. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit different. So I mean, it's not like they would be all buddy-buddy. They would of course be standoffish, and Max is she was insane. Except for, I love that one part with the one wife when he says something about going back. He's like, we go straight back. She's like, I thought you weren't insane anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I guess there's not, like we said, there's not much story, so there's not much spoilers. But one of them is that this Greenland, this promised land that they're going to with these liberated slave wives is it just doesn't exist. The ground has become poisoned, and that's where the Many Mothers were from, and where Charlize was from. She was kidnapped as a kid. Where she was kidnapped as a kid, I guess. And so yeah, what their oasis that they're going towards doesn't exist. So they have two options: go fucking back the way they came, and they just suffered horribly to get to, or go like 160 days across a big giant flat desert of salt to the other side, which may not even have anything on it. So they decide to go fucking back the way they came, and that might piss off people, but again, it didn't bother me at all, and it shouldn't bother you. And I thought it made sense, you know.
And I love the finish with Furiosa putting her metal hand onto Joe's face and remember me, and then fucking just ripping his face off.
Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Yep, and even though it is story light, I'm going to say that we haven't talked too much about the War Boys, but Immortan Joe is one of my favorite villains in a while. Even though he's not he might not be as iconic as Darth Vader or something, but he's fucking cool. He's a complete mess. He's barely functioning. It's so cool.
Speaking of the War Boys, I mean, Nux's buddy, it seems his Lancer. That's what they're called, the ones that do the stick bomb things.
Lancer.
But anyways, Nux's Lancer, Slit, I believe his name is. He's actually played by another guy from X-Men.
Josh Hellman.
X-Men Days of Future Past. But he did a good job as well too. Like speaking of the War Boys, I thought him and Nux played off each other played with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're two lower ranking war boys, if you will, both trying to appeal their leader Morton Joe with brave sacrifice and getting the wives back. Because I don't know if we ever explained that, but if you haven't seen the film, Charlize Theron's character Furiosa is a general for these war boys, which already goes to illustrate the fucked up shit a woman would have to do to become a general of a cult. Like she clearly holds her own. But she betrays Joe and steals his slave wives to try and free them, basically. And that kicks off the whole story. So Joe sends all of his boys out, basically the entire war camp, or the, what do they call it, the war wagon, something like that. The entire... What's that? War parties? Yes, he sends out the entire war party of like 70 fucking vehicles, something crazy.
Because I just remember, because Buddy says, he's like, you said some people following you, or some people may follow you, maybe. And then he's like, I count 3 war parties. She's like, I got unlucky.
Yep. Yeah, that was an awesome line too. It's like, maybe I got 3 war parties. Yeah, so she betrays him, and that kicks off all this, and leads to Nux and Slit, if you will, the 2 war boys, kind of.
Because Nux's car is badass.
Yeah, it is badass, but he himself is not badass. He's kind of
not at all.
He's kind of a clumsy motherfucker, but he's real enthusiastic about pleasing Joe, and he wants the recognition, and he wants to go to Valhalla and live a get a warrior's glorious death or whatever. And that's how brainwashed Joe has got these kids, and it's awesome. And believe it or not, he's in way more of this film than you may think, and he actually lends a lot of heart and soul to this movie in a weird way that I didn't expect.
Well, because after, I don't know, I think it's 3 or 4 attempts to try and kill Furiosa or Max or whatever and get the slave wives back to Joe, he of course screws up horribly every single time.
Every time, yeah.
Probably the best one is when he hands him the gun and says if he does it, he'll carry him to the gates of Valhalla himself.
Yeah.
And immediately drops the gun and flies off the side of the war rig.
Yeah, that was awesome. Joe's just like...
And then he decides to, for some reason, just go along with them because the one slave wife is nice to him, and I'm pretty sure it implies that they were banging up at the top there.
Yeah, it implies it, but it doesn't focus on it, which they could have easily. But I'm glad it didn't. He kind of has a change of heart after seeing one of his wives get killed by falling off the wagon, and one of his 9-month pregnant fucking wives, nonetheless, and the pretty one, if you will, sees her get killed falls under the wheels of Joe's car, and that kind of leads to a change of heart for him. And I believed it. I thought he was a cool character.
I thought so too.
He still had the appropriate level of crazy that would come with being being raised in a weird cult thing.
Yeah, because he's like that. He's like the thing over there. There's high ground over just past that thing. He's just like, he needs that tree thing, he says. Yeah,
he's clearly he means well, but he's he didn't have the best upbringing with the war boys. Who'd have thunk that a tyrannical war cult wouldn't give you the best upbringing as a young lad. It also doesn't go into detail why they're all blue. Are they all like this weird gray color?
Yeah, this grayish sort of pale, just super pale, I guess. But
which I guess could come from any number of things. There's lots of radiation. Clearly, people have tumors and boils and shit all over them.
Yeah, because Nux is all that. We didn't really explain that either. We just love this so much we keep rambling on. But so Nux's character, the reason that he has Max as a blood bag is because he has these 2 tumors in the side of his neck.
Yeah.
What is it? Barry and Larry, or Larry and Harry, or something?
Something like that. He names
Barry
them.
and Larry, I think.
Yeah.
They like my mates.
He drew little faces on them.
Yeah. So he's super sick, and that's why Slid actually tries to steal his wheel. And yes, I mean his steering wheel.
His steering wheel, which kind of act like Keys of this world.
And so he decides that if he's going to die, he's going to just take his blood bag with him and die gloriously. Yeah. It's kind of but nothing to lose. And I think that's Joe's whole goal with the wives and the breeding, is to have,
he wants a son that's perfect, right? No mutations, you know. I had a son and he was perfect, and that's why, they must be brothers because
that's why Richter says that.
And they're like, I had a cousin or whatever, and he was perfect, and it leads to them going fucking ballistic. But you know, like any good tyrannical leader, he just wants to preserve his bloodline. But in this world, I would believe people would go to this lengths to, you know, secure unirradiated, you know, healthy children.
Well, you'd think so, because otherwise, I mean, what would really be the point of existing?
Yeah, because humanity would die off and would have died off.
Although I am a little surprised that there was that many of those kind of beggars, I guess they would be, the ones that were
beggars.
Don't get addicted to the water, my friends.
Yeah. He uses his compound, the Citadel, uses pumps to get water from deep underground. It's one of the only sources of fresh water, so he uses that to control these, I guess, like, you know, the apocalyptic equivalent of poor people. Like, everyone's poor in the...
I guess peasants.
Yeah, everyone's poor in the apocalypse, but these people are poor and sick, and I don't know where they found some of those extras, but they just got people that looked like they were in an actual Fallout. Like, it tumors, missing teeth, one arms and shit. It's awesome. I'm glad to see the, you know, extra effort go into making these people look like they belong.
Yeah, it was definitely a good job on the makeup and design for those
and that
cast members, I guess you could say, extras.
Some people nitpicked that all the wives had, you know, perfect hair and makeup and stuff, and I think that was done on purpose to contrast the rest of the world, and I think that worked.
To kind of show how he tries to keep them pristine. And if memory serves me correctly, I believe in the final chase, none of them do.
Yeah, they're starting to get a little more grimed up because they've been on the road, which is fine. That's understandable.
I mean, obviously, he keeps them in a fucking vault.
Yeah, so like these, it's not to be... There's
a reason they would be all pristine.
Yeah, they're prize breeders, you know? They're, it's his key to, you know, continuing his lineage and continuing his stranglehold over these people in this apocalypse. And
exactly.
He fucking really wants them back.
That's right. I understand.
Yeah, and it's understandable in this world. And yes, some women in the story are considered property, and that leads to them wanting to rebel. And again, survival is the main thing.
That's why I don't understand why people would say that, stupid that they have their makeup all the time. The only time that I've found that overly stupid is the Transformers movies.
Yeah, it's stupid in many other movies, actually.
For the majority of this movie, the wives are hiding.
Yeah. I mean, and the first time Max sees them, when they're literally like, it's an oasis and they're, you know, bathing and drinking water, it's meant to, you know, look like they're sirens almost, and they're...
Or a mirage.
Or, you know, angels, if you will.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Or a mirage, yeah, because they are, you know, besides, you know, some definite wear and tear from being a slave, they are perfect specimens.
I did like the close-up shots of the chastity belts that they were wearing.
Yeah, they have these fucked...
There's, like, teeth on them.
These fucked up chastity belts that have these, like, teeth around the vagina, so if anyone wants to, if anyone except Jill wants to, you know, take a crack at them, don't do that. So, yes, quite literally the scariest chastity belts ever seen in cinema, I would think. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's another plus for this movie. The world, though, is the star. I wouldn't complain at all that Max isn't in enough or Charlize Theron's in too much. The world itself is Fury Road, if you will, is the star of this movie. And that's how it should be enjoyed. Just delicious, well-filmed action. Oh, yes. So we covered almost everything. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we did really cover. I mean, realistically, it's like you said. I mean, the only thing we could do now is kind of nitpick and pick out like tiny, minute details that realistically didn't matter at all that we didn't like, because overall it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's, I mean, it is, in my opinion, it's the culmination of the Mad Max franchise. It's exactly what it was always meant to be. It's really what he seemed to have been trying to convey with the older ones, but budget-wise and, you know, technology-wise, as far as film goes, it just wasn't available at the time to make something like this, and this is just absolutely perfect in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
This is what they can come up with now. You know,
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is what he wanted to do. It's a fan film made by the creator of the originals, and it's great that can happen and be so good and be so successful. Yeah, I will agree. Every negative we can really get into is nitpicking. There might not have been enough story. There might, you thought Tom Hardy was maybe held back in his performance. Like, it's all just nitpicking. Like, I would have loved.
I thought his performance had a sudden, sudden
subtlety.
A subtle genius to it, because
I agree.
Especially with the parts of when he was a little more messed in the head. I thought he did an absolutely gorgeous portrayal of what someone would be like in that world, just being absolutely batshit crazy.
And on
especially
your own.
when you see him like with that first glimpse.
Yeah,
that quick side turn to the camera.
Oh, he looks super crazy with the hair too. And he was on his own for so long too, right? No one to talk to. You go a little Mad Max, and the future belongs to the Mad, and
he's more like Mel Gibson when he comes back.
Yes, I will agree.
After they give him the motorcycle and
he does a lot of grunting and motioning, and don't get me wrong, Tom Hardy is a great grunter and motioner. Yeah, like the subtle thumbs up and the.
And then she gets hit by the fucking rock.
Yeah, that was it.
Then she just falls off because the door falls off.
Yeah, that was a bait and switch if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, but smashed by the rock. Oh, she's fine. Thumbs up. And just bam, there she goes.
Yeah, or when he comes back from killing the bullet farmer, the Gastown guy, one of the two. Yeah. He's just covered in blood. He's like, "Are you okay? You look hurt. What?" He's just like, "Huh?" That's great. He's got blood all over his face. Just. I'm good. Swashes it off. He does a lot by doing a little in this movie, and it's fine by me. I 100% buy the character of Max. I think he's great and stoic, and I think there's enough nods to the old films and the old character that I didn't immediately get them all, but there's actually more than I thought, and I think it's a good homage to those films without being trying to replicate them, going the way he always wanted to go, while still, paying homage to his old trilogy. I love that scene in where he's like trying to disarm Charlize Theron or Furiosa in the truck bed, where he just keeps finding weapons all over the place, reminiscent of the time he had like 12 guns on him in Thunderdome or whatever. He starts off the movie captured and with long hair, like he does in almost every Mad Max film. The jacket, obviously, is the same. His car is the same. Morton Joe is played by fucking Toe Cutter from the very first Mad Max. A different character completely, but still a nice nod. There's lots of nods to the old films, but it stands on its own. It doesn't need to be a sequel, a reboot, whatever the hell you want to call it. It doesn't need to be any of that. It's just a Mad Max film, and it's the best one. And it didn't sequel bait either. Another good thing. A lot of films like this they feel the need to set up for a sequel, and this movie did that without explicitly doing that.
I suppose by having them kind of wander off and just go on.
He just wandered off. So what I'm saying is,
more so set up a story for just another Road Warrior sort of story, but
or
maybe that's where they're going when people are saying it wasn't story.
Or the next. Story. Yeah, the next film could be.
This would be a great reintroduction into like the Mad Max franchise, and then go off of.
That's what I mean. Even though it's not a reboot per se, it could work as a reboot. I think, like you said, how he just kind of wanders off at the end. That could be the start of a Road Warrior remake or reboot or reimagining of some sort. Yeah. And that could work. But if this is the only Mad Max film ever made for the rest of George's career or whatever. It would be fine on its own, and I really like that. There's no hidden scene after the credits like we sillily waited for. But
damn you, Marvel, for making me wait after movies.
Yeah, it's fucking Marvel's fault. I waste so much time watching those credits. Not that I like reading about the stuff involved, but they could have easily thrown in like, I don't know, him finding another car or a nod to Bartertown or the Thunderdome or some shit at the very end. And they didn't, and I like that. It's a smart use of a franchise, and really fucking cool. I can't say
Oh, yeah.
enough good about this. I don't think it will take home any story or acting awards at this year's Academy Awards, but that's okay, because it doesn't need them. But if I could see him, at least the cinematographer, at least getting something, maybe special effects, something like
I would
that.
think effects would have to at least be nominated.
It fucking better be, but that's a ways away, I know. But what I'm saying is it's that style of movie. It's an action flick. It's a chase film. It's a car film. It's an apocalypse spaghetti western film. It's all of those things really. And
I'm just saying, if you get nominated for Guardians of the Galaxy for effects and makeup,
yeah.
this has to be nominated.
Yeah, or How to Train Your Dragon 2 can win for animated. And yeah, that's another rant for another day. Goddamn Oscars. Yeah, I can't say enough good about this film. Do you want to wrap it up with a rating, I suppose?
I suppose we shall, and I think, given the glorious masterpiece of death and destruction that George Miller calls the Mad Max franchise, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and give it a 9.5.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to give it a 9.5 as well. And we've seen a lot of good films recently, and we agree a lot because these films are good. We try to avoid the bad ones unless we're just tearing them up for fun. But yeah, I would give this damn near perfect just for the sheer spectacle, everything that it had, everything it pulled off.
On a side note, speaking of the bad ones that we just tear apart for fun, be sure to watch out for a review of Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm. That'll be coming soon after that inevitably bombs. And well, actually, they've already planned a sequel to that. That's not smart. Don't plan your sequels before the first one comes out. That's just silly. Yes, but we do enjoy tearing into movies here and there, but we prefer to review films that we like, and this is no exception. It's an almost perfect film. And from a filmmaker... Almost perfect action film. This is cream of the crop when it comes to action films.
Oh, yeah.
We'll say that. If you want to go action as a wide genre, it's easily one of the best this year, best in a long time. And if you want to break it down even further to like apocalyptic films or even Mad Max films, it's still the best of those genres as well. And
just the visual dynamic of the film, mm-hmm. What they're able to do that they never would have been able to do before, mm-hmm. is so overpowering as far as where you're going to position this.
It's so fun.
Ranking it among those other types
of
films.
It's
honestly, it's the best one that they could possibly have done.
It's so impressive that all this was filmed practically for the most part, mm-hmm. and with real stuntmen and athletes and friggin' ballet dancers or whoever they got in this film to do the crazy stunts. It's all so beautiful, and the fact he pulled it off, and the fact it lives up to how crazy. You remember when the trailer first came out, and you're like, "What the fuck is this shit? This is crazy! Like, is this what the new Mad Max is like? Because they're turning it to 11." And yeah, you know what? They turned it to 12. They just you got to see the movie to find out. And
that's 2 higher than 10.
Yes, it goes up to 12. But yeah, it's action-packed start to finish, and because of the editing and the stylization, like I honestly felt like when we got out of this movie, it's not an overly long movie. I think it comes in about 2 hours, but I felt like exhausted, like I just went on some apocalyptic LSD trip or something like that. Like there's such energy and style to this movie. It's not to be missed by any fan of action or the genre. 9 out of 10, or sorry, 9.5 out of 10 for me as well. Yes, what a lovely day indeed. Thank you for tuning into this rather long episode of Movieverse, where we gushed over Mad Max Furry Road. My name has been the Habitual Pixel. This is my co-host, Big Nasty Productions. If you like what we do, links to all our work and channels in the description below. If you want to see us review something, maybe you have a suggestion for a terrible movie to tear apart, leave that down in the comments below as well. Yes, thank you for watching. Fury Road, one of the best films of 2015 so far.